go. The Expert Show coming at you tonight on the day after the big debate, bringing all the juicy malarkey that we witnessed last night.
There was a lot of malarkey. It was malarkey filled, I think you could say.
We're going to give you that expert take on it. I'm here with my man, Byrdman. Here with my man, Joey, Reverend McCheese, the double, bringing double cheese tonight.
Yes, sir, I'm doing good, man. How you feeling?
You know, I felt like I had a little bit of a cold coming on.
Oh.
And then I walked out to the fridge and I forgot what I was doing there. And then I left my keys in the fridge. And then I walked back and then I realized, you know, I'm just going to blame it on having a cold.
Sure.
That's what happens when you have a cold. You forget.
Well, yeah, you take the medicine.
You forget your name and what you did.
And you get a little airheady, right? Because you forget your medicine.
Yeah.
You got all those decongestants in there that'll, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. So
it gets a little floaty.
You can completely understand, if you think that you beat Medicare when you have a cold.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Maybe you got your chemical cocktail mixed up.
It is. It's weird.
Have you?
I spent the whole week at Camp David going over my cocktail.
You did.
And I had 13 experts walking me through what the perfect cocktail was for me.
You know, I was thinking about
they said
that.
Jack Daniels.
Well, perfect, man, because you got some. But, I was thinking about that. Everybody was saying that Biden was, going to have, a big drug mix. And I saw the representative, the guy that used to be the president doctor, I think Ronnie something or other. Anyway, he said that, that's what they were doing in Camp David. They were just trying to figure out the perfect drugs to give him in mixture so he could be awake but not look crazy and all that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, you bring in maybe 5 or 6 doctors on this because you're going to want some opinions. Did they just bring bags of drugs with them?
I think so.
Did they go to the pharmacy?
I think there was some full-on fear and loathing action with the lawyer. What was
Laszlo?
Laszlo.
Yeah.
Laszlo came and he's
As your doctor, I advise you to be heavily medicated from all times.
Do you think there could have been some adrenochrome at play?
I don't know, man. I mean,
that's the adrenochrome stare.
Is that really?
The wide-eyed and just the full-on,
I don't know what the side effects of adrenochrome use are.
That's kind of the way Johnny Depp looked in the movie, so I'm just going with that.
Right. We have too bad Hunter S. Thompson's dead, because that's an interesting thing about that book. He actually did it. So people say that adrenochrome's not real, but if I read that book in I think 11th grade.
Yeah, it was written in the 70s.
Yeah, dude, and he was all about it. He said and the funny thing is, he said he got it from a Satanist as well that couldn't pay him. That was the lawyer.
That's the whole thing with the Hunter, right? It's like what's real, what's not.
Sure.
He's always pushing the boundaries between it. But it's pretty crazy that he talked about something that is still being bandied about today, and that kind of it's a real thing. I don't know if it works if you just drink the blood or
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
There's probably a centrifuge involved, and then some other stuff, maybe a ritual, some chanting.
It's fascinating that I don't think it was ever heard of before Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think, did Hunter S. Thompson the first one to expose that even existed?
Yeah, probably some medical papers prior to that, but other than that, yeah, I think the first time it hit the mainstream as in a book. Yeah. I don't know anybody else that was doing that.
It is. It's kind of bandied about a lot in the conspiratorial circles. Now with what's going on with the elites and their predilections toward those sorts of things. And when I do mention that, that's Hunter S. Thompson came up with that in the 70s. I'm not sure if that's real because it was in a fictional book, and people don't even know that. They really have no clue that was possibly the origin.
Yeah, but they mentioned it. I think because they didn't do that scene in the Bill Murray thing where the Buffalo Room.
The Buffalo Room. Yeah.
But when Depp did it, they did mention it, and he's like, "What's that?" It's it's adrenochrome. It makes what he said, it makes peyote look like child's play or something like that. And And then he's like, "Where'd you get it from?" He's like, "Well, I defended a Satanist, and he couldn't
Right.
afford it." And,
Yeah.
and he gets the.
Which you're like, okay.
But like I glossed over that when I was in 11th grade reading this, this book.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, there's so much craziness going on.
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, salt shakers full of cocaine and stuff.
But that's the one that they really coveted, right? The drug that they really like. All the ones that they had, that was the one that really was like, this is special shit.
Yeah, he said it was the bomb, dude.
But anyway, I don't know. Well, the adrenochrome wasn't working for our man Joe, if that was the case, because
it didn't seem to. I mean, maybe it was.
Maybe he was feeling good, but
he looked like he was watching the walls melt through most of it. Like he had the craziest freaking stare through a lot of it, dude. It was like
staring at the wrong thing. Yeah, like what are you even looking at? The eyes are just betraying your attention.
And I'll tell you what, there wasn't a whole lot of love between these two candidates. They didn't do a handshake. Did you see that? No handshake.
Well, Trump came out just straight business. You know what I mean? Like it was just like he just stalked down the stage. He kind of gave him a nod, like let's get it on.
Yeah, he's like, all right, asshole.
Like we're not here to, we know what we're doing here.
Try to arrest me.
So so let's get into it. We first thing we're going to just kind of roll through a best of kind of little montage clip and react to that and get some of these real juicy moments of malarkey. And I'd like to ask any of you that are watching this, please, subscribe, like. We need a little help here, and we're going to give you some good content, and we're going to put on a show for you. So
yeah, I might juggle later.
Give us a little something.
Yeah,
you never know. We're going to play some cool music, original hits. Yeah, it's great stuff. So let's get on with some more great stuff. Our man Donnie J taking the stage like a boss.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He looks scared.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean,
1,000 trillionaires.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes.
We don't have a trillionaire.
If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars.
Dude, you're supposed to memorize your first speech.
We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do.
He got all that shit wrong.
Elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person
look at that face. He just wants to
eligible for what I've been able to do with the with COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look.
Oh no.
If
right off the bat,
finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Beat Medicare with what?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad water, including
look at this face.
Hundreds of thousands of people dying. And also killing our citizens when they come in.
You know what I mean?
We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. Dude. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all.
No, that's 100%.
And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody's been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Joyce, that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing you said is a lie.
Lakin's a little bit.
Every single one.
We live near Lake.
For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PAC.
He was already in like
1
custody.
million of them now have insurance, and their families have it.
That's the crazy
families
shit.
have
Like,
it because
let me ask
what
a question.
happened,
If I was supposed
whether it was
to
Agent Orange
build
or
a fence
burn
around
pits,
a pool,
they're all
and I
being
was
covered
getting
now.
paid
And he
to build a
opposed
fence
it.
around a pool
The
so
group
people couldn't
opposed
fall
that.
into the pool.
We're also in a situation
and I
where
just decided
we
not
have
to
great
do my
respect
job
for veterans. My
and didn't
my
build
son,
a fence around the pool, and people fell in there. Wouldn't I be liable for their deaths? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a law. You have to have a fence around your pool nowadays in the city of Tampa.
Right.
I know that for a fact. A buddy of mine
But
got
he's
a pool.
not. He's not.
like,
following,
I gotta make this fence now. It has to be so high. Yeah.
But he's not following the law either. He has. I mean, what's happening with all these migrants is not law. I mean, they have. The funny thing is, they're always saying, "Oh, the Senate needs to pass new stuff. They need to fix immigration." Actually, the laws are there. You just deport people, but he's just found ways around it. Like every chance he gets, he's like, "Well, if they have it, we're going to supersede if they have a child, and they're." We're going to bring him in the country because we don't want to be horrible to the child. And, it sounds good.
Immigration
No,
is the
sounds
word.
good.
Is word. That was another one of Trump's best, I think, tactics of this whole thing, that he brought everything back to immigration.
He did. Because it is, though.
Yeah, exactly. But, everything they try to bring up is like, we're going to tie it back to immigration. We're going to tie it back to immigration. Because that is, one of the top issues for sure. That he's one that he's super strong in. And the whole U.S. border patrol thing, backing Biden, and
crazy.
Talk about lies, right? We got that just straight up, Twitter saying no, we never did that.
Let me say this though. I don't think Joe Biden is lying though. I think he is told this stuff and he just believes it. Like I don't think he has any clue. I think his people come to him and say, "Joe, this is the facts. The border patrol loves you," and he's like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah," and he's like, "All right, cool, I'll say that," and he just says it because. Like it doesn't matter.
I mean, he appears that clueless in this debate. That I would totally believe that.
Dude, I think he
after
loses.
50 years of politics, after 50 years of being on all kinds of sides of all these issues, going back and forth, he doesn't have his own thing that he's really stood for. He's just, once you're a politician for that long, you've flip flopped so many times, you've just gone along with whatever agenda, is in fashion at the time with your party.
But I think, like, after watching his performance last night, I think this guy struggles to, like, find his socks in the morning. I'm serious, dude. I mean, like, my grandfather was 87 when he passed, and he lived at our house. And,
he's there.
Every day he would break out the same shit, like his insurance paperwork, and you'd have to explain the same thing to him over and over. And, he's a good guy for his whole life, so you take care of him at this point, but you don't make him president. Like, my grandfather is president. Oh my God, dude. Right. I can't even imagine, dude.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, they don't care about shit. And then they're going through this. Oh, think about it. They're old, right? So they're going through this whole thing where they're, like, getting ready to accept death. Like, or at least it's much closer. They know it's coming at some point, right? So that's just a whole different mindset. I mean, some people might become more, like, might become more generous and give away their stuff at the end, trying to buy their stairway to heaven, whatever. But he doesn't seem like that guy.
Do some Swedish death cleaning.
I don't know what. Yeah, my mom did it. Yeah, she did.
He needs to do some Swedish death cleaning.
Yeah, she loaded up my truck.
No doubt. Well, let's keep it rolling, man.
I spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits. Came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general.
I mean, that is bad that you just corrected what you actually had right.
Yeah. Yeah. What
And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines.
Atlantic
He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up.
I know, dude.
Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. Number two, the idea, that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
And I don't even care.
And they now are their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our
history. People don't lie.
Right, thank you so much.
It would be ridiculous to think that they would
foreign
lie.
policy. I want to begin with Russia's.
Yeah, or
they all act like, well, we would never lie, and you're like, oh, come on, man,
or even that you'd make an off-color comment, right? Like, we're human. Like, we say shit.
Well,
you know
Trump
what I mean?
didn't say that shit. That's not his style. He's a super nice guy.
Honestly, I can't believe it. Other things like the grab him in the pussy thing and all that.
Oh, he
stuff.
said that.
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
was one of the. That's kind of what I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just that you goad somebody into saying something, some talk with the boys, and everybody kind of acts like virtue signals out and like, oh my god, that's so disgusting. And it's like, dude, I know you've said that way worse than that, like a million times.
Well, if some girl's going to let you do that, then most guys are going to do it. I'm just saying, it's not like he did it.
Even if I didn't
without
do it,
an invitation.
Guys talk shit, man. I mean, it's just
our
nature.
Yeah,
man. Like,
absolutely. But he did it. I'm sure he did. But I tell you what, there's no way that dude who like respects like military guys, especially like and he totally respects like tough guys, like the the MMA fighters and stuff. He has a big respect for people that are like tough asses.
Yeah,
he would never stand amongst them and say something like that just because. Look at the dude when he meets people, and everybody who's ever met him says he's like too personable. He's like, what can I get you? Do you want water? Do you want this? Like, hey, do you want my fish? Like, Dan Bongino said
that when he double quarter pounder.
When he met him, Dan Bongino said when he met him, he was eating snow crab. And he was like, "You want some snow crab?" Like off his plate. And Dan was like, "I'm good, Mr. President."
I would have ate some snow crab.
I would definitely grabbed at least one claw. Been like, "Let me get a little butter."
But yeah, so that's just dumb. As bad as the fun people hoax that he brings up later, we'll probably see that.
This war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO.
Yes.
Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him,
right? Like, you know what I mean?
that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight.
A little different.
And they like me more than just about any of them.
Like, let Biden
and that's based on
and
every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine.
Yeah,
a lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers.
They usually ask him a couple times.
He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible, embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. That when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. So he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, "You know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take my." This was his dream. I talked to him about it. His dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
Its head and, you know, the Houthis and all that kind of stuff. That wouldn't happen.
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Not when he was president.
Caused the brain damage.
They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in.
So who's going in? Who's doing what they want?
He mixed up Trump
and part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish.
Dude, and you know what? You mix up things,
and he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done.
No, he never gets back
on track. They've lost thousands and thousands of troops. 500,000 troops.
No, he's like a fishing
Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed, and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's anybody do business with him. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for. This is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
I mean, honestly, I would love to see that. You know what I mean?
Like, the fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people, and he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire. Not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't think
that's what he wants.
That.
And then you think he'll stop there? You think he'll stop
clear,
when
that's how you do that.
If he takes Ukraine, what do you think happens to Poland? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do. Because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine,
said, no, we're going to get into this, and he wasn't.
Weapons,
you know,
not the money.
Okay, all right, Ukraine doesn't join NATO, just like you said, and we keep the Donbass
for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supportters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
No, they're really
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
They say.
But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of,
that's what they say.
In writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever.
Yeah.
And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
I don't think
President Biden?
That's what she said.
Trump,
He encouraged those folks to go up in the Capitol.
That wasn't a quote.
I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office.
I don't think
He sat
Pelosi
there
ever
for
said, I take
3
full
hours.
responsibility.
3 hours
she said-
watching.
I saw the video.
Begging,
She said something
being
like,
begged by his vice president and a number of his
I feel
colleagues on the Republican
responsible
side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great
I remember him
patrons of
saying to go
America.
home.
In fact,
He did?
he says he'll now forgive
they cut him
them
off
for what
Twitter,
they're
too.
doing. You know, they've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation.
How
I don't
can
know how
he
many
finish
cases.
his statements, dude?
Scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said,
the Supreme Court
he
came
said,
out today
no,
and basically
this
sided
guy,
with a lot of
this guy is
So
responsible.
what they're trying to
Doing
get
what
them
is
on.
being-
The
that was
number
done.
one charge
They
is
do
what
a
is-
damn
what is this,
thing.
obstruction
And these
of
people
justice
should be
or
in
something
jail.
like that?
Yeah,
And they should
a section
be
of like a
ones that are
proceeding.
being held
Yeah,
accountable.
and they try
He
to
wants to let them all out.
Like if they were
and
trying
now
to
he
stop
says
the
if he
vote,
loses
right? Like
again,
they were
such a
get-
whiner
They're
that he
basically
is,
saying that they were
that it could be a
coming at them to
bloodbath.
stop them
Thank
from
you, President
counting
Biden.
Yeah,
President
the law
Trump?
was made
Justice.
during
But
the
they
end
What
can't-
of
they've
they
done
haven't
to
proved,
some
right,
people
but they
that are
haven't
so
proved that they were
innocent,
there to do
you
that
ought to
or
be
that they
ashamed
did
of
that.
yourself. What
You know
you
what I
have
mean?
done,
So,
how
you know,
you've
a bunch of them
destroyed
are
the lives of
basically
so
in
many
jail
people.
for that charge.
When
And
they
that's
ripped
most
down
of Jack
Portland,
Smith's
when they
charge
ripped
on him
down
for the
Yeah,
J6. Like
yeah.
that thing's not
many
going
other
well.
cities.
No, it's
You
not
go to
good. This is not
Minnesota,
good. This one's not going
Minneapolis,
well for 'em.
what they've done there
No, and
with the
that's
fires
the
all over the
judges
city. If I didn't bring in the
so-
National Guard, that city would have
Trump
been
appointing.
destroyed.
I think he's.
When you look at all of
failed.
it,
I think that Judge
they took
Cannon
over
was
big
actually
chunks
up
of
for
Seattle. I was all
Supreme
set to bring in the
Court
National
when
Guard. They
Amy
heard
Coney
that.
Barrett
They
got
saw
it.
them
She was
coming
one
and they
of
left
in Trump's-
immediately.
I'm almost
What
sure
he said
the name
about
sounds
this
familiar.
whole subject
I don't
is
regularly know
so off.
judges.
Peacefully
Unless I'm in front
patriotic.
of
One other
them.
thing,
Other than that, you know.
the unselect committee,
that was
which is basically
Heinrich.
two
What's his
horrible
name?
Republicans that are all gone now, out of office,
That's what Heinrich.
and Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
Pause.
Cut
The
him-
only
cut him
person on
off.
this stage is a
I just
convicted
wanna,
felon.
like, do you know about, like, they did that entire, like, show, that whole entire thing where they brought, where Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let Jim Jordan on the committee and the other guys, so they put Kinzinger and, what's her name, Liz Cheney. You know what I'm talking about? It was the January 6th Select Committee, and they tried to put, the Republicans usually forever have been able to choose who they want on committees, right? Because you have to have both for it to be a legitimate committee. And they wanted Jim Jordan and a couple other dudes that are pretty hardcore. And Nancy Pelosi said, no, I'm changing the rules. You can't do that. I'm picking them. We're getting Kinzinger and Cheney. So she picked the Republican people on that day. And then they did that whole show trial. They actually brought in, I think, somebody from ABC, director, to like, you know, do videos for this whole thing. They didn't release any of the stuff. And then they had all this evidence. They talked to people for like, you know, interviews throughout the ass. A lot of interviews they didn't use because they didn't fit their narrative. And then when it was over, all that evidence was gone. Like, I don't think you're allowed to do that. I think once something we pay for it, we paid for that investigation. I want to, you know, I want to see what the hell the investigation determined.
Right? Why even have an investigation?
It's gone.
You're just gonna just delete everything.
Oh, I don't even know how like people don't go to jail for that. It's like you can't say oops.
All those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about
Bringing
now?
it back to the
Will you
Proud
denounce
Boys.
the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump,
We
for
didn't know
a
if it was his
follow-up
turn to talk
question I
yet or not,
have.
right?
Yeah, he's
After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means
Not really
about you
paying
feeling you
attention
have
or
every right
looking
to
at
go
you,
after your
but he's
political
there.
opponents?
Well, I said
Spirit.
my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
I don't really like
Should have
the
been convicted
you know,
before,
I
but
don't-
his
I didn't
Justice
care about
Department
Martin
let
or
mean,
the
this.
statute of
They really
limitations
do
lapse
have
on the
nothing
most
to do with each
important
other.
things.
No, he's
But
not
he
the
could be a
president.
convicted
Yeah.
felon
I
as
mean,
soon as he
he
gets
might
out of
make money
office.
off
Joe
that.
could
Yeah,
be
I
a
don't like that he
convicted
tried
felon
to,
with all of the
you know,
things
call
that
it
he's
a
done.
Russia
He's
hoax
done
and
horrible things.
cover up
All
for
of
his
the
son,
death caused at
but-
the border.
No, but
telling the
but it didn't really
Ukrainian
match
people
what
was
that
that
question.
we're going to
Yeah.
want $1
Did not
billion,
at all.
or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
But it's hard to
If I ever
segue.
said that,
You know, sometimes you
that's
got to
quid
like make
pro
a
quo.
little bit of a
Yeah.
breach.
Said, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This
Yeah.
man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong.
he says,
We'd have a
that's quid pro
system
quo.
that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. Well,
over
you want to
here,
respond?
sir.
Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
Look
The
over here.
idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one.
No,
Number
you
two,
said it.
the idea that you have a right to seek retribution
shaking.
against any American just
Yeah,
because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before.
They haven't spoken,
Number
but you
three,
did it.
the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for
Yeah.
molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant?
Is that a crime?
What are you talking
No.
about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
How about taking a
The
shower with
morals
your
of an alley cat.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two,
She
that
wasn't
was
a
a
porn
case
star
that
when I
was
saw her.
started and moved. They moved
She was a
high-ranking official, a
high-class
DOJ,
starlet.
into the Manhattan DA's office to start
Escort,
that case.
please.
That case is going to be
We call
appealed
them
and
escorts
won.
now.
We had a very terrible
disrespectful.
judge, a horrible judge, Democrat.
really wasn't a star.
The prosecutor
Yeah,
were all
yeah.
high-ranking
Star
Democrats,
part.
appointed
Washed up by
people,
it, by the time.
and
Honestly, she wasn't
both
a
the
guy.
civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand them better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases,
Hardly
you know what they
anybody really
did?
understands
My
what
poll
the hell these
numbers went up
cases
way
are.
up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign
Yeah, it was
has
pretty
ever
incredible.
taken
Yeah, it was.
hundreds
And it
of
wasn't from
millions
big
of
donors,
dollars
right? It was
came
just
pouring in
from
because the
local,
public knows it's a
regular
scam,
Joes.
Well, a
and
lot
it's
of
a
it
guy
was.
that's
A lot of
after his
it was. There was a
political
couple
opponent because he
million
can't
dollars.
win
Sure, but
fair and
like
square.
Let's
Thank
turn
you.
to concerns that
But a lot
voters
of just
have
regular
about
people were
each
giving
of
them
you.
like $1,000.
Yeah, in this
President
economy.
Biden,
Yeah.
you would be
This economy.
86
People are broke.
at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Oh, I remember this one. They told me.
First of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest
This doesn't make
person
any sense at all.
in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate.
What the hell does this
and
mean?
now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent.
Okay.
I think
so
that just look
that
at the
means
record.
you're
Look at
just
what I've
super
done.
old.
Look how
And
I've
you've been
turned
there
around
forever.
the horrible
Yeah.
situation he left
So
me.
all the problems we
As
have
I
now,
said,
you helped
15
create.
million new jobs,
Yeah.
800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing.
Like when they prepped
By
him,
the
who
way, we
told
brought
him
an awful
to
lot of
use
people.
numbers?
Yeah.
Like they should have
The
been like,
whole
no
idea
numbers, Joe.
of
Millions,
computer
billions,
chips. We used to have
billions.
Don't say
50% of
that.
the
Just say a
market.
lot. We created a lot of
invented those
jobs. We
chips.
created this, you know.
And we
like-
lost it because he was
Use the
sending
word
people
buku.
to find the cheapest
and
jobs
malarkey.
overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And they're, guess what? Those
Guess what?
fabs, they
What,
call
Joe?
them,
He uses the same
to build
shit
these
so
chips.
much.
Those fabs
Guess
pay
what?
over $100,000.
For
You don't
He
need a
knows
college
about the
degree
fabs.
for
He's
them.
using the
And
lingo.
there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you
Nice
have
one, bro.
40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would.
don't have to stop,
the
man. You
idea
have a lot
that
more time.
somehow
He's like,
we
God, I
are
have to keep going.
this failing country.
No, his look is like,
heard a
was that
president
good
talk
enough?
Want to go out like George Costanza on high note.
We're the envy of the world. Like, name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and
I
all
can
our
think of one.
opportunities.
El
We're the
Salvador.
most progressive country
What's
in the
his
world in
name,
getting
Bukavi?
things done. We're the strongest
like,
country in the
nope.
world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and
Putin, maybe.
those who he cuddles up to, from Kim Jong Un, he sends love letters to, and
cuddles up.
Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Oh, he's trying to make peace. That's
Thank
such
you.
a horrible thing.
Former
Yeah.
President Trump, to follow up,
Yeah.
you would be
Maybe no
82
Keep
at
your
the
friends
end of
closer,
your
your
second
enemies
term.
closer.
What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take
made the
one,
biggest
just
deal
one,
about him
a
taking
real
a
easy
cognitive
one.
test. Remember
Like
back
go
then,
through the
everybody
first 5
was-
questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive
Yeah,
tests.
they
I
were
took
calling
physical
Yeah,
exams
he
every
was
year.
feeble-minded.
Yeah.
And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood.
like you're gonna call him
that I'm in very
feeble-minded,
good
Tom, and you're
health. I
looking at
just won
this right here,
2
and
club
like, good
championships,
Lord.
not
Yeah,
even senior.
if you
2
can
regular
actually
club
believe that
championships.
that
To do
guy
that,
is
you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way.
I don't
And I
know.
do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter. But
does
I'm
look
in
leaner than
as
he
good a
was in
shape as I was
2019 or whatever. I saw a picture of him.
years
He's
ago.
got a-
I
he's
feel
got a
very good. I feel
Peloton
the
or
same.
something.
Dropped
But
a
I
few
took. I was
lbs.
willing to take a cognitive test.
So now when
And
he
you know what?
eats
If
his
I didn't do well, I
McDonald's Big Macs,
aced
he
them.
does it on the Peloton.
Dr.
So
Ronnie
it's good.
Jackson, who's a great guy
Yeah,
when he
for
was
the
White
medium
House
fry
doctor.
instead
And
of
then I
the
took another
large.
one, a similar
He does
one.
Diet Coke.
And both,
Diet
one of
Coke,
them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
20, 35 pounds?
6'4", 200.
If you're
Well,
6'5"
anyway, that's
and
what you-
230
anyway,
pounds, that's pretty.
Just take
that's
a look
like
at what he
good
says
shape.
he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving
use numbers,
contest with
Joe.
him.
Yeah.
The reason I got my handicap, which when I
This
was
is so
vice
funny that
president,
they went round
down
and
to a
round.
6.
I know.
And by the way,
Like, that was the most offensive thing
Right,
you
right,
could
right. It's
Trump
like
did.
call,
Your own
say banged a porn star while my wife was married. Fine. Live at your
6
golf
handicap
handicap.
of all.
It's
I was
on.
an 8 handicap.
He's like, lawsuit time.
Yeah, it's like that.
But I
is,
had, you know how many?
I've seen you
rounds-
swing. I know you
unconscionable.
swing.
I see.
Okay,
Let's
You know,
not
how
act
many
like
rounds-
children.
President
I've seen
Trump,
your
we're going to
swing.
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
That was good.
You
to
are
a
a child.
You try to
specific
be the
concern
adult in the room.
that voters
Yeah,
have
she's
about
even
you.
shocked. She was like, what?
Will you
Trump?
pledge tonight
It is
that
super
once
hilarious
all
to see two
legal
80-some-year-olds
challenges have been exhausted,
arguing
that you
about
will
golf.
accept
I know, dude.
the
Like-
results of this election,
like,
regardless of who
With
wins?
luxury
And
problems,
Yeah,
dude, right?
yeah.
you will
There
say
go.
right now
But
that
it's, like, so
political
serious,
violence
it's
in
like
any
the
form
biggest deal.
is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to.
Wow.
And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, It was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something.
I don't know how they got that tape.
I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation.
Well, you've
and we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are
become president
insane.
Right,
They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
If you want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want.
What?
Let him follow and win, and let NATO do what they want.
Think all Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response.
The idea,
I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done. What they've done. They're a powerful nation. They have wonderful peace because of the people, not me, because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border.
I think Putin marched straight to Kyiv in like the first 2 weeks of the war.
And then backed off. Yeah, he could have already killed everybody in Ukraine.
That probably could already been done.
So this idea that it's ridiculous.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush.
Say what I'm going to say.
They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden.
They do this a lot.
They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing
McCheese
from this man right here.
Byrdman
That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you asked me a question before, would you do this with... He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country.
I don't think you were going to run until you were indicted on 50 million charges and you owed billions of dollars.
Actually, no. He didn't get indicted on anything until he said he was going to run. I think if he would have went off quietly, nothing would have ever happened to him. I think he said he was going to run.
That's true.
And they were like...
As soon as he dipped his toe in, it was like...
boom.
Electrocuted.
3, 4...
I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again... No indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over.
When this debate's over.
Let's see.
Yeah.
You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and
You
appealed
knew
to courts all
Frank
across the
Luntz is-
country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local.
They never heard
None.
any evidence. That's
But
such a
you
lie.
continue to
Yeah.
provoke this lie.
They refused
about
it on
somehow there's
standing.
all this
None of those
misrepresentation,
ever saw
all this
evidence
stealing.
at all.
There's
None was
no
ever
evidence
presented.
of that at all. And
You're
I tell
right.
you what,
They saw no
I
evidence.
doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The
Whiner.
idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
What are you gonna do?
I like the smile.
Just
dude.
roll with it.
Dude,
Yeah.
Trump doesn't give a like. You could honestly tell that he hates Biden. Like he would, you know. I think
I
like.
don't know, yeah, they definitely both despise each other. So
Man, I think Biden's just a little too crazy to like really care. I think he's just like, this guy's eating my pudding, you know, and he's upset about it. Whereas Trump's like, dude, I don't think Trump would piss on. He wouldn't give Joe Biden the steam off his piss.
Well, you know, he lied about his handicap, Joe.
That dude,
That's just something you just did
like,
not do.
Can you imagine being like? Can you
in the
imagine
company of billionaires.
being like on welfare and you're like watching your presidents argue about their golf game?
Yeah, all right.
He did pull it back though. You got to give him credit. He
Yeah.
was like, let's not be
Yeah,
childish.
well, I mean,
Like,
that was after about 10 or 15 minutes of them being like, no, you're the worst president. No, no, I'm the best president. No, you're the worst. I'm the best. No, I'm the best. You're the worst. Like, yeah.
you know, it's crazy because neither one of them like are great speakers when it comes to getting their points across.
No.
Now, I don't know. This is the one
They're
question.
not the most tricky. Honestly, like Obama would wipe the floor with them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He actually made sense. But
Yeah.
do you think they talk down to like the average voter and that's what they're or because they seem to generalize and they always go with like anecdotal stories about this and that and
I think Trump just comes in from that business perspective where too much detailed information is not helpful for him, for when you're trying to negotiate.
Right.
You know, he knows what repeatable phrases and what sticks in people's heads and what doesn't.
Yeah, I feel that
And,
a
and
lot.
that
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you throw out a lot of this stuff that's not repeatable, it just gets lost on people. So why do it? And yeah, you're smart and like all the Harvard educated people are like, yes, points for that. He really nailed that, you know, articulated that topic very well, you know what I mean? But the regular Joe that's going to vote for you, that's going to elect you or not,
he likes the one
doesn't
liner
care about
burn.
that. Yeah,
He
yeah.
likes this guy over
Yeah.
here. This
He's got
guy.
the one punchline.
Yeah.
He's got something repeatable in his head, like, you know, and that's why he names people too, right? Like he gives them their little pet name, you know, like Sleepy Joe or Little Marco or you know, like,
Yeah, he
you name it,
definitely
right?
changed politics and like destroyed what like took 200 years of bullshit to
No,
create.
he understood like persuasion and it to a whole new level. You know, honestly, it took it. But yeah, man, that was some of the clips. I mean, honestly, there was a lot that weren't in that little montage.
Well,
that
with
we could
CNN,
bring
they
up.
definitely were going to
Yeah.
show like.
That one with, you know, that he just totally has, you know, just the brain for.
Well, that was the first one, which was just amazing
Yeah.
to me because you know, like, if you're going to memorize one thing after 6
Yeah.
days of prepping, it's your first statement.
Right. That was right off, almost right.
And he like got it all wrong. And then whoever's in charge of Joe, like, I feel like they threw him under the bus a little bit because numbers would be out of the question. I'd be like, you're going to do generalities. Like his voters don't need numbers. They don't care about 200,000 this, 2 million this, 2 trillion that. They just need to say a
Yeah.
lot. And I've done a good job at this.
I don't know what happened. I mean, you know, we kind of had this little discussion that, I mean, was he set up to fail with this? Possibly. Like, did they really realize, okay, look, he's not going to make it. You know, this guy, he's falling apart daily. He won't step down voluntarily. He's not volunteering for that. We've got to find a way to bring this out in the open where it's just undeniable. We got to get rid of him. And you know what happens? So they prep him. Whatever happened to Camp David with these 13 experts, and then this is what we get.
Yeah.
You know, was he just prepped to, you know, I don't.
No,
I
I
just
think they
can't
prepped
believe
him.
that
He
they
just
really
couldn't remember
believed
anything. Yeah.
that he was this was gonna pull him out of this nosedive in the polls.
Well, I think there's something interesting going on.
I mean, do you
where-
think that they thought he was going to have this State of the Union moment and he was going to just rise to this occasion?
No, we're gonna do some videos here in a little bit where people are reacting, especially on the left, to Joe Biden.
Yeah, the next thing we're going to talk about is their reaction to all the left.
And what I find crazy is like all of a sudden they're all like this Joe like last night Joe Biden like lost. That's when his cognitive decline started last night, and they finally noticed it. And I mean, come on, dude. You guys have been lying the whole time about what is. It's very obvious,
right? We've all been seeing it,
and they're in the know more than we are.
They were right, but they were trying to blame it on all kinds of crazy stuff.
Bullshit.
That it's fake AI generated video,
cheap fakes, and
and these are just deep whatever.
He's
fake
got a stutter. He always has a stutter ever since he was a kid. Nobody ever talked about it before, but now he's got a stutter. And
it's just one excuse after another.
It's horseshit.
And we all knew it. That this guy's in serious cognitive decline. It keeps getting worse. They've tried to brush it off and act like, that's just ridiculous. And these people have come out, no, and behind, he's a very. They also stood up for him, right?
Have to.
But I mean, behind the scenes, they have to know, like, look, this guy is falling apart. We got to get him out because we're going to lose.
Right.
Trump's already up in the polls. I mean, the Nate Silver poll came out. His research. I mean, put Biden at 67%. Trump 67% likelihood to win if the election was earlier this week. This was pre-debate.
Yeah, and post-debate, Frank Luntz, this guy who's a pollster. I don't know if you know who he is. He was on CNN. He used to be on Fox all the time, but he's kind of I don't know, not a huge fan. But he had a panel. I think it was 14 people or something like that. And at the end of the panel, anyway, there was 14 people in the panel who were undecided entirely. Like they voted over the last 10 years, Democrat 1 year, Republican, split tickets, all kinds of shit like that. 90% of those 14 people went from undecided to Trump at the end of that.
The debate.
After the debate.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have Nate Silver, who's probably one of the top in the game. You know what I mean? Like, is always looked to as something you need to watch his work. You know what I mean? And he's really hit it pretty on the nose most of the time. I think he was one of the only ones to call it for Trump back in 2016. Yep. It's really kind of made his career. Him saying that. So anyway, what happened here? What did we witness? Did they basically parade him out here in an almost looking for him to fail in an almost political assassination?
No win
type of thing. Like this is gonna kill his run. He's gonna have to deny the nomination, and this is our golden ticket to try to get somebody else in there, because a vote for him, and if they know he's not going to make the 4 years, is a vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
and that's scary in and of itself. And I don't think anybody wants that. It doesn't seem Democrat or Republican or
Kamala does. And her husband. Those are the only two people.
Yeah, right. There's a couple people. And
they're like, we'd love to be president.
Yeah, maybe a couple of those people that with the Juneteenth celebration that were dancing around there.
Yeah, they'd love Kamala in there. I mean,
But right, so the other girls that she likes to drink wine with for lunch.
Absolutely. Well, I think they all left. Her whole staff's quit twice. She's supposedly kind of a. She probably's like, "Where's my?"
Yeah, no. If they can't hang with the 2 martini lunch, they're gone.
Yeah, she seems like she definitely seems stoned all the time. Like, I think she's still smoking weed. I'm pretty sure, dude. She giggles like a stoned person.
It is crazy, but I mean, you think you just save that to when you get home.
Right.
Like most people do.
Well, especially if you're vice president.
Yeah, I'm vice president of the United States. I think I need to just not take, she's just burning down in the fucking bathroom.
I was fixing cabinets, and I was like, I need to stay sober today because I got to fix some cabinets.
Right. Like, you're the vice president. I might have to deal with the international.
Well, she's got somebody doing shit for her all day long, so it's like she just passes it off. I don't know. But she's going to be an
But regardless, that's where we're at with this, right? So did they just, because I just don't believe these people are smart. They thought he was going to, what are the odds that he was going to pull this together and be able to come across strong and intelligent and coherent in this debate with what we've seen in the last couple months? I just don't.
3%.
Yeah, if you were, these people are paid a lot of money to do this. They got a lot of experience, in this field. Like, would you take a 3% bet, to do this if you really wanted him to succeed? I would say no. They did not want him to succeed. They did this purposefully really early before the convention. So when we get to the convention, they got a really good case to open it up and to bring on somebody.
No, it seems like I think you mentioned it earlier. It seems like Biden's fighting it. He doesn't want to. He wants to be president. He doesn't want to.
And there's the Kamala thing too, right? Like, she doesn't want to go either because she knows even if he gets elected, he's not going to last 4 years. Is going to be her. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to get that.
Well, we have that one tweet from that guy, Cass. Bring that up if you could, man. That'd be awesome, because this guy supposedly, I don't know much about the Democrats, but he's He's a pretty big insider, from what I understand. And I don't know. I'll read it. What it says there. He says, "Well, from what I am hearing regarding Joe Biden, Ron Klain and Barack Obama are having a sit down with the president today. Jill Biden is insistent that Joe runs. Kamala, whatever it is furious that she is not being considered, which is interesting. And this guy supposedly knows these people. I don't know who he is as a replacement, but Whitmer and Newsom are being considered. Interesting. My neighbor is in East Hampton, is hosting the Bidens tomorrow. It will be important to tell if that fundraiser is canceled." So, and if you're an insider, you don't post something like this without someone being like, "Hey, dude, post it." You know what I mean? Like, you don't just come out and be like, "Hey, I'm going to blow the, I'm going to tell everybody a little secret, inside baseball on this shit."
You don't let that kind of stuff out unless you've been given the green light to let it go.
So there's definitely a call for half the party to get rid of him. And I guess they even did a poll and they said that 70% of people who voted for Joe Biden don't even want him on the ticket.
I think this has been brewing for a while, and what we saw was a bit of a Democrat coup.
It was an exposure.
A bit of a Democrat split, a coup in the party somewhat. There's people that are... Okay, now Dana Perino brought this up on the 5 today. I thought it was interesting.
Okay.
That it's not so easy, even when we get to the convention, to switch over, because it's a money thing. Now, the DNC has money, but there is money in the Harris-Biden campaign.
So they can't switch that.
They can't switch that, right? You know what I mean? So that's $100 million. You know what I mean?
They got Soros.
So there's ways around, and I'm sure they're working on all the little things, man. But her being an insider, and she knows
if they keep her on the ticket, can they keep the money?
See, that's the thing. Or they feel like Dana brought up that they basically have to pay her off in some weird regard. Now, I don't know what the laws are about moving that money around, or if it's especially allocated for Biden and Harris, that they can just say, "Oh, now it's the Newsom freaking Harris ticket." Or well, maybe they'd have to include her on the ticket,
but then not give her the opportunity to be president.
Whatever it is,
over a white man.
Whatever it is, that's a thing. That's a thing. You know what I mean? It's a sticking point.
That is a huge point, because they've been. I think they're going to end up running the guy. I really do. I think they're going to cancel the next debate. I think they're going to say that, like, I don't know, man. I mean, this was the equivalent.
You're calling that they're going to stick with Biden.
I don't know what else they're going to do.
I think there's going to be. I think we're going to get to the Democrat National Convention, and there's going to be a change of guard. I think they're going to get him to say, "I'm not going to do an LBJ," and refuse the nomination and bring on somebody else. I think we're ready. I just feel it that we're primed for a big black swan fucking event, as they say, event. You know what I mean? Like something that's going to just shake this thing.
Martial law or
100 degrees. You know what I mean? Like upside down. Because I don't know what we just saw tonight. I'm sorry, people aren't going to forget this. You know, I mean, he might have a good day in North Carolina today, and talking about
yeah, he crashed on the big stage, dude. Like that was like your first gig as like a band, and you like played the wrong chords, dude. I mean, like he was all over the place. I was watching this last night with a buddy of mine's son, who I think just graduated college, and he's definitely on the liberal tip. Smart kid though, like more into finance than he is really liberal. And he thought Biden did a horrible job. And then I was asking him, I was like, who do you think? Who could they replace him with? And he had nothing, and I have nothing.
Yeah,
Whitmer.
You said he was bringing out kind of an obscure, Hoagland or whatever. When they go into the other, someone that has no name.
It was a Baltimore. It's not Hogan. That was the old mayor or the old governor of Maryland. It's the new governor of Maryland, and they're bringing him up. And I'm like, and you're gonna. Well, they kind of did it to Barack Obama, but he had a couple of years to warm up. Like they announced. I don't actually remember. When did they announce? Barack wasn't like a surprise guest at the end. He was running for the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the primary against Hillary. Yeah.
Here we go. Here's Biden's, one of his big tweet today, like, folks, I might not walk as easily or talk as smoothly as I used to. I might not debate as well as I used to. But what I do know is how to tell the truth.
Oh, goodness.
Now, we know there was, I don't think he knows the truth from a lie, because he doesn't really know what happened. So he doesn't really know what the truth is, because he forgot.
No, he doesn't. He knows what the truth is, what the people tell him.
But what we really got to remember is that just being able to tell the truth does not qualify you as the commander-in-chief and president of the United States. That's not enough.
It would help.
I'm sorry. It's nice.
Yeah, it would help.
But that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that you can barely walk and talk, which is basically what you said at first. Like, I might not be able to walk or talk, and I might not be able to work in debate with world leaders, but I can tell you that I had orange creamsicle ice cream.
I did,
and not chocolate last night.
Yeah, that's the truth,
and that's the truth. And I'm sticking to
if he was telling the truth, he would be like, well, the truth is, I'm not necessary. I'm merely a figurehead, and we've got a couple people, I think maybe Ron Klain and Barack Obama are actually running the shit, and they're like, we got to get rid of Joe. He's murdering us here. But he's been a great Trojan horse for him because he literally is an empty vessel.
Right. But I think we can't, like, people saw this last night. World leaders saw this all around the world. Like, this is a bad moment for the United States. I'm sorry. It's not just old Uncle Joe being,
Yeah, I remember the
folksy and like, this is bad.
This is elder abuse. I mean, people said it, and I was going like, yeah, but you know what? It is. Did you see what Jill Biden said after Joe got off? She said, "Yay, you've answered all the questions, Joe."
Right.
They have that on recording.
Like should I put a star and put your little
5-year-old,
put your little picture on the refrigerator?
He
Joe?
was in a spelling bee, and she's like, "Yo, Joe, you spelled cat right. Good job, Joe."
It's like, man. So this guy, 51 years in politics. He was a young man then. Now he's an old man now.
He was the youngest one. They thought he was a young guy. Now,
so he's been there forever. He doesn't even know. He can't. It's all run together for him. It's probably just one long lying spree. You know what I mean? It's lasted for way too long.
Yeah, it's all confusing in his head now. Right? You're right, Bill. This is a great example of somebody who's lied their entire life, and at the end, it's really hard to put the pieces together.
Yeah,
like
because you don't remember what once you start lying. That's the thing with lying, right? Like, you don't remember how to cover up that lie with the other lie, and which lie you told to who, and how that all worked, and then it just gets all convoluted.
You told this guy this lie, this guy this lie,
and then you're caught in the web,
and then you obviously lose your mental faculties at the same time.
Just start like drooling and staring into space.
It's just like an open file cabinet with papers everywhere.
Imagining sniffing.
Nothing's filed correct. Nothing's filed correctly.
It's like, God, I wish I was just sniffing.
But in his defense, he shouldn't be doing this. He should be at home. I don't know what he did to piss off the powers that be that they're making him do this. But I guess now they're trying to pull him out. I don't know, dude. I was so surprised.
The scary thing is, like, maybe they're going through all their prospective candidates, and they're like, damn, dude. Maybe Joe Biden is the best thing we got to run against Trump right now. Like, you know what I mean?
Who else?
I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? But at least he has some kind of record that they can kind of twist. They don't have anybody with enough name recognition, or Newsom or Whitmer, and both of them have worse records. Like, their states are the worst. You know what I mean? Like,
and they both they both went out during COVID. Newsom went to the French Laundry.
Yeah.
Gretchen Whitmer's husband was bitching at somebody for not dropping their boat in the lake, even though she made it illegal to go out on a boat in the lake.
Both of them locked down and just handled COVID completely wrong. And California is just, it is the...
And they're both assholes.
It's what everybody points. It's just what everybody points to right now is California about what's wrong in America.
Yeah, you're like
how not to run.
That's the future.
Your city. You know what I mean? Like, San Francisco is the freaking example, right? Like,
I think Europe's better than California now. Like, they're less liberal. They've started doing a bunch of stuff with like the trans where they're not allowing that. England's done that. Like, there's a lot of shit going on in Europe dude.
No, at least they still, their stores still want to run in London. You know what I mean? Like,
nationalists
like
are taking
Walgreens
over.
don't even want to, you can't even get a regular grocery store in San Francisco. It's just like
the shit's locked up, dude.
It's ridiculous.
It's behind glass cabinets.
Let's see what Here's the Democrat pundits after this debacle, right? Like, so the shit went down. Everybody knows it. It's like, okay, we can't just brush this under the rug. Like, we've tried. We've got it now. They really came out pretty fast, saying how Biden just shit the bed.
Yeah, you know I mean, dude, it was like they were waiting to do it because this is not new. Like I said earlier,
but they have fought this tooth and nail, right? Like you said, like just lying to us completely, over and over and over again. Like, he's fine, he's fine, he's great,
he's as good as he's ever been.
He's amazing. You know what I mean?
Which might be true.
He's amazing. All this is amazing, and now it's just they really came out in. Now they always, you'll notice in talking points and stuff, like certain verbiage that they'll use. It's like, seems like it's been, this sentence is coming down from on high. Like, this is what we're going with. This is the party line.
Oh, yeah.
This is the talking point where this is
the memo got sent
the thing we're going to say, like, constantly. And you can watch tons of clips, and every one of the pundits say the same little phrase.
Joe Biden's fine. He's just a little slow because he's aged, but he's mentally strength. He has the meetings. He's doing a great job.
The fact that they all came out slamming this and calling this a defeat like this. Very unusual.
Yeah.
Very unusual. So let's watch some of this, because this kind of blew my mind. You know what I mean? Like even that they came out. So that's kind of leads into my
this, and I was
that kind of
like,
leads
what?
into my theory that this was almost a planned
setup.
You know, for him to get rid of him.
Funny thing is, they parked an ice cream truck outside. That's how they got him to the studio. They were like, "No, we're going to get ice cream, Joe. Come on." He's like, "Oh,
really?"
He's like, "Why am I wearing a suit?"
Do I get sprinkles?
And sprinkles.
You get
You get sparkle, Joe. They should have put some glitter on Joe with that pasty white skin. That would have looked awesome. He would look like an alien.
Jesus. Be ready for the
let's hear it.
Juneteenth celebration next year.
This was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
Deep,
it started
wide,
minutes
aggressive.
into the debate, and
That's
it continues right now. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers.
Nasty.
And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say, in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing, but then at the end, even his closing statement was a little halting. The contrast between the two candidates. Let me be clear. None of them, and a lot of Republicans, don't think Donald Trump had a great night. Donald Trump broke the fact-check machine more than I can count tonight. That will be on the record as we go forward. He refused to answer some very specific and direct questions about his conduct, about January 6th and what all. So that will be dealt with out there. And sometimes there's a parallel universe between the political elites and the American people. It'd be nice to see what the voters say. But I can tell you, it started minutes in. It started with the first couple of answers, and it has continued throughout the night from a, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, to what do we do about this? And it involves very senior people in the Democratic Party, including elected officials.
Like, this really seems like they kind of were ready
what John
for
is
this.
saying. I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard in this campaign so far. And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, there was a deep frustration about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight.
He wasn't going quietly.
The problem for Biden was that Trump was able to take
this is a coup.
Sometimes
a group,
incredible falsehoods and turn them into some kind of argument. Whereas Biden's answers were, in a lot of cases, not coherent, deeply problematic, that he was not able to take pretty straightforward answers.
The funny thing is, if he got elected again, they'd all be like, Joe's doing great.
Oh, my God,
and then
he's got a new
also at
medicine.
some points,
say whatever
bringing things up that teed up Trump attacks. So there's a real concern here tonight that there's been some real damage done that cannot be undone. Biden solidified the perception among voters, but especially among his base. They were hoping that tonight would be a game changer.
Right.
They are now seeing a president who is in the White House, who they do not necessarily believe
so
can,
the base
can
should
do
know
this
what's
for
going
another
on,
4
right?
years.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Well, I think that's it. I think finally,
I can't
this
argue
exposed it to the people who are insiders and the people who don't pay attention to anything but the big game.
Leaders,
And
Democratic
everybody
leaders
watched
are
it.
reacting to
Axelrod,
this
right?
poll.
Like,
we said at the beginning
much.
that
What's
each
going on with this
person
shit?
had a
He
fundamental
got rained
goal.
on.
And
Yeah,
for
little
Biden,
spoons
that
on
goal
us.
was to appear energetic,
They're slamming
engaged,
shots like, oh,
and
God.
look like someone who
Spill
is
his
capable
tequila.
of serving for another 4 years.
Shotgun his
for
beer,
president.
Dave.
That
It's
was
gonna
job
be a long
number
night.
one. I
He had a
actually think
funnel
he
going on.
scored a bunch of points. I think if you just judge this on
Scored a
sort of
bunch of
policy stuff, he did score a bunch of
On
points
what?
on issues like abortion,
You
for
couldn't understand
example,
what the fuck
on
he
some
was
of the
saying. Pardon my
economic
French, but sorry.
No,
issues.
It gets to a point where those points are just insignificant.
There is a feeling.
If you can
I think there was
decipher,
a sense of
like
shock,
hieroglyphs.
actually, at how he came out at the beginning of this debate, how his voice sounded. He seemed a little disoriented. He did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the
drugs
panic
must have been
had
kicking
set
in.
in, and I think you're going to hear discussions
rising wave.
that I don't know will lead to anything, but there are going to be discussion about whether he should continue. And I think part of it is Donald Trump did not meet his mission either. He could not resist the temptation
to be nasty,
I think he
to
resisted
prevaricate.
Dude, he was the most reserved he's ever been.
things,
You could see it looked like his face was
about
getting
his own
exploded.
record, about
Axelrod's
Biden's
trying to
record,
qualify
and
it a
to
little
seem
bit.
petty
Yeah,
and
yeah.
small at times. So
At least give him some
what
kind of
you
like,
saw
well,
was a
he's a
candidate
good
who's
guy.
deeply
Trump's bad
vulnerable
still.
Yeah,
and
they're
a
softening
president
it
who
by
may
saying
not be able to
Trump
take
didn't do well
advantage of
either.
it.
But
Listen,
so it's not that
if
bad.
anybody in
But she
America
said,
thinks that was even close
This guy drops the hammer on
to
him.
being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe. That was an unmitigated
He's the
disaster
one
for President
Republican on
Biden from the second he walked out to the closing statement.
It's like
The
Michael
biggest issue
Chiklis.
for Democrats is abortion,
Some of
and he
Buddy
couldn't give an
Ray
answer.
Was he like-
He gave an answer, he couldn't even give a coherent answer on the biggest
I feel
issue
like that
for,
guy could run
for
through a
Democrats
wall.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard from
Perhaps.
I wouldn't
leading
mess with him.
Democrats across the United States, elected governors, congressmen who are texting me and saying, I'm worried I'm going to lose if Joe Biden's at the top of the ticket. Bob Casey, I promise you tonight, in the state of Pennsylvania, is thrown up in his mouth because he knows that if he's got to stand next to Joe Biden, he's going down in Pennsylvania. If he's on the ticket, I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, look, it was a really disappointing debate performance from Joe Biden. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. His biggest issue that he had to prove to the American people was that he had the energy, he had the stamina, and he didn't do that.
Right here.
And so I think that is of concern, and I think for a lot of Democrats that's very disappointing. I will say Donald Trump also had some really rough moments in this debate, and talking to the Biden campaign, they say their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display. That doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also think you saw him continue to get sort of more and more animated across the course of the debate and, give some really problematic answers about January 6th, some really problematic answers about Putin. So, Donald Trump did not get off scot-free tonight by any stretch. But look, there is no two ways about it. That was not a good debate for Joe Biden.
Fan?
Dude, I truly believe the FBI.
That was painful.
Yeah, he
I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden.
He loves him.
He didn't do well at all.
We need to put him out to pasture.
He did not do well at all.
He's like,
and
It's time to kill old Yeller, folks.
I'll give you the
He was a
analysis.
good old
Kind of
dog,
the
but
old man versus
He
the
used
con
to be
man.
useful no more.
He's
I
rabid.
can walk you through how I'm supposed to see it and say it, but I just want to speak from my heart.
How I'm supposed
I
to
love
see
that
it
guy.
and say it. Did you hear that?
That's a good man.
I can walk you through that.
He loves his country.
With the
He's
shit
doing
they
the
gave
best
me
that
to
he
say.
can. But he had a
Calling
test to
what's
me
her name,
tonight
the dog killer, to
to
shoot him?
restore confidence of the country and of the base.
governor
and he failed to do
Yeah,
that.
Dakota.
And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention.
Consider taking a
and there
different
is
course.
time for this
Yeah, that's
party
big-
to
that's
figure out
big
a
words
different
to
way
say,
forward
like,
if he
in
will
front of
allow
these
us to
people,
do that. But
none
that
of them
was
are acting like it's
not
horrible,
what we
so
needed
you're
from Joe
right.
Biden, and it's personally
Like,
painful
nobody's like,
for a lot
yeah,
of
no,
people.
Joe,
It's not
we gotta
just
stick with
panic;
Joe.
it's pain of what we saw tonight.
Yeah.
And if I may just add to that,
Rather, like, they're crying about it. They're going to say, he's a good man. Like, he's like,
Oh, of
he's
course.
like, putting your dog, trying to put him down.
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah,
sad. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, he was a good old dog.
Yeah, but he's riddled with
He,
cancer.
he used to,
he's shitting himself.
I mean,
and,
he fetched the bones.
He did.
He was, he did his duty.
He came home and saw me. He was a great. But the thing is, Joe Biden was none of that.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was not a great politician any means. If you look at,
I think he was a good,
KKK
he was a
members.
good lapdog for
Oh
the Democrats.
yeah. I mean, they needed him to get Barack in
That's
there.
what I think it is. It's like he played ball with us all. He ran the career.
And they
did what he
let
was
his
told.
son run wild. That was like that was like their boat. It's like you guys can go make as much money as you want, build your Delaware beach house, build your. I mean, the guys. The guy's lived off America. His whole family's been living off of
he
us.
played ball. He was a good boy.
Yep.
And I'm sorry that this is happening, but we time to put him.
I think Joe Biden lost in the first 3 minutes. I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their families, with their friends, of if the president is up to the task and if he should step aside. And I'm someone who believes the former president is a threat to democracy. I think he is a threat to the America as we know it. He wants to fundamentally change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is. I am not confident that that is the man to take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If based on that in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
This to people.
The people
that
doing
Trump is
focus
going to
groups
become
tonight,
this
and we'll see if
dictator.
our style
And
group
he's
with Laura
freaking
Coates
Hitler in
confirms this.
disguise.
That Biden
Wasn't
actually
he already
scores pretty
president
well
for
on
4
the
years?
issues when he's talking about the
He didn't do any of that.
And
Right,
Trump's
but their
numbers
whole
went
thing
down.
is that
both because
now
he
he's
was asking
waiting.
questions,
He
he
was
was
waiting.
lying
Okay.
about something,
January 6th.
and he was refusing to
didn't-
answer some
right,
of the
but-
No, they
time. It was
FBI
the tone. They don't
story,
like
you know
it.
what I mean?
So when you see that,
I know. I mean, I'm
when
sorry.
you
I
see
get a
sort of
little-
the
That's the story.
statistics.
Because I really feel
You're
like
going
the
to look at
FBI
like,
had
oh,
more
that's
to
a
do with
mixed
January
bag. But
6th
to
than
Van's
President
point
Trump
about
did.
the president's
There's a lot of
performance,
truisms
that's what caused the
behind it,
panic.
but the
So
narrative and
the
the
question
way
is, and my question
spun it, and
actually is,
people
what happens?
are
Because
a lot of
to
people
his,
bought into it.
Do you know my
it's
brother
a
wanted
great
to go.
political strength of Joe Biden.
He asked me,
is
he's
his
like, "You wanna go to
resilience and his
DC?" I was like,
stubbornness.
"No fucking way."
It's also
I was like, "Are you
sometimes a
crazy,
blind
dude?"
spot
Well, you
because
knew it
he
was
is
gonna
so
be
stubborn. It's
crazy,
going to be
you know
very
what I
hard
mean?
for
Well,
someone,
yeah, but
and I don't
I
know
didn't
who
know-
it
I
is.
mean,
No,
I
no
know
one
Joe
knew
Biden
that
would
was
say,
gonna happen.
But I
you
kinda
need to
felt
do
something.
this.
But I'm sorry that
number
this
one.
is not a coup.
And the question is, again,
Republicans would bring a gun.
I'm just
They're
telling
going
you,
to the coup.
to Abby's point,
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
been
We're
gonna try
doing
to
this
take over
for
the
30-something years, going
Probably
on
gonna
40
be.
years.
But
and
you
I
know
have
what I don't
never,
like? I don't like
ever
going to
had
like
what
rallies
happened
and
on
stuff
this thing
because you
tonight
almost become
happen
responsible
in the
for
middle of the
everything
debate.
anybody
It
does
started
at that
early,
rally.
and
Yeah.
it
Like,
continued.
if you're part of
And
that mob.
to Van's
Obviously,
point,
I
Van
think
made
a lot
very
of people
important
got
point.
roped into
These
to
are
this
people
thing and are
who
in
love
jail
Joe
now.
Dude, they
Biden.
were just, they thought they were going to
Dude,
get
I
to
was. I got
Credit
caught
Joe
up in
Biden
the
for
mob,
kicking
and
Donald
the
Trump
next
out of the
thing I
White
know,
House. Their
there
Democrats.
was
The Democratic Party is a very
5,000
diverse party.
people
It fights
behind me.
about a
I
lot of
couldn't
things. It has
retreat. Like, unless
generational
you're-
issues. It has
you know, go to a
regional issues and
fucking
everything
rock
else.
show,
The
man,
thing that
you know,
unites
you
the
get stuck
Democratic
up
Party
to the
is
front of the
trying to
stage,
keep
you got
Donald
100
Trump from
people
getting back
behind you.
into the White
You
House. They love Joe Biden for
can't
kicking him
back
out.
up.
They don't
It's like
want him
being in a
back. They
drive-thru,
came into
people
this
behind you. You
debate
can't be like,
nervous.
I don't want my
that
cheeseburgers
Biden
anymore.
was
I
in a
want to get
weak
out of here.
position.
Well,
Hey,
what
you're
if your buddy
behind.
runs in there and
Joe,
you're
if
like, I
you
can't
love the
lose him,
guy,
he's my ride
how
home.
could you put him
So
out
you
there?
run in to
That's-
get
if you
your buddy
love
at the
him-
Capitol. Next
if you
thing you
love
know, you're
Joe
sitting in
Biden, if that was my
the
father,
gulag and
you don't put a guy
DC
next to him.
for the next 3 years.
It's a great point.
That's why I
These
think
guys
this-
know this
this
better.
Supreme Court
These
ruling
guys
with
know
the
this better because they
obstruction,
talk to them.
obstruction
There's this
justice and all
legacy in the
those for
Democratic
people who-
Party. You don't challenge the incumbent because when it's happened in the past, they haven't beaten the incumbent, and then the incumbent has lost the general
It was
election.
actually Donald Trump that helped make Joe Biden the nominee because there was a feeling that if there were a primary, that would weaken, that Biden would probably win, but it would weaken him in a general election. And so there were people who could have run and didn't run because the history of that is bad. The point is now he is the nominee of the Democratic Party. This isn't the 60s, okay? Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee. Only he can decide whether he's going to continue. And as you point out, and as Kate knows very well, this is a guy with a lot of pride and who believes in himself. And the idea that he's going to say, you know what, I had a bad debate. I think I'm going to walk away from this. I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, dude, I don't believe that either, dude. That, like, Joe Biden's the only one. Like, okay,
Yeah,
you're telling me there's no dirt on Joe Biden and somebody couldn't walk up to him and be like, hey, do you want us to tell everybody about this shit?
No, I
mean, come on, dude.
I agree. I think that, look, as much as they've, with all the lawyers, all the Hunter situation, like his 50-year career, like, look, he owes people. You know what I mean?
He owes
Like, you
people
know,
and
yeah.
he's done things.
Yeah, that's how it works.
They've been protecting him for years now, so all they got to do is stop protecting him. And
it's like time for you know the Dawn to call in the favor, right? You know what I mean? Like big, you know, George Soros is gonna tell him to meet him in the dark room.
Yeah,
and they're gonna have
be like, Joe, we got
the talk.
We
You
got
know
a
what I mean?
farm.
Like,
We got a farm in upstate New York. We're gonna send you to.
Yeah.
It's called Happy Valley.
Yeah.
You're gonna run
lots
free.
of ice cream.
Lots of ice cream. There's gonna be fields full of flowers you can run through.
Right.
There's gonna be little kids brought in on Thursday to sniff their
there's
hair.
Gonna be hair sniffing going on.
Plenty of hair sniffing.
Yeah. We've already got some barbers that are saying that they're going to save the hair from all the children that they cut.
They just set it up.
They're going to make you pillows out of it. You're going to be able to nest. You're going to have the best sleep of your life. You're going to nestle in.
They'll make a robot like Cousin It from the remember that thing from the Munsters or whatever. The Cousin It was nothing but hair.
Yeah.
And they'll just make a robot that's full of children's hair and send it up there for him. He'd be happy, dude.
But wasn't a character on the Flintstones too? The real hairy guy that was like, you know, club.
Captain Caveman.
Captain Caveman.
Are you going Captain Caveman?
Yeah, it's
No.
different.
No, they had Mizzleplick or whatever that guy.
Yeah, I know that was the little green.
Yeah,
the
green guy. Yeah, he was a little weird, dude.
Craziness. Anyway, so so you heard him say that Donald Trump is this big liar, right? You know
That's
what I mean?
what they
That, you know,
said.
that he just lied the whole time, and you know, if poor Joe. I mean, you know, he had some senior moments, but you can't debate a liar. You know, like it wasn't his fault because you know the guy's a liar. You know what I mean? So what are you going to do?
Trump was abusing Biden, actually.
Yeah. So here's CNN's professional fact checker bringing on all the lies that Biden said. So this is the fact check rundown. Let's check this out. Good old Daniel Dale.
The fact check.
Beavis.
Performance and demeanor tonight notwithstanding, there is the crucial question of the truth of what was actually said on stage. And our fact checker, Daniel Dale, joins us now. So, Daniel, what stands out to you?
What stood out was the staggering number of false claims from former President Trump. On first count, Aaron, I counted at least 30 false claims. Now, President Biden also made false claims, at least 9 false or misleading statements on first count. I'll give you some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15%. When he took office, it was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he'd supported, never endorsed him himself. In fairness, the president did appear to clarify that one. Now, the Trump list, it is way longer. So,
what about the what do you call the soldier stupid and foolish or whatever he said? That was completely bullshit. You know, John Bolton, the old ambassador, you know what I'm talking about, mustache guy. Yeah. He hates Trump as much as anybody. He was there, and he says it didn't happen. He was there the whole time. He was working in the administration at the time. He said it never happened. So, like,
you mean the bleach comment?
No. The one about the going to France and saying I didn't want to go to the World War II memorial because they were suckers and losers.
Okay.
That never happened.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, from what examining Trump for 6 years now, that is not something this guy would say. Now, he might say it to Melania at home.
Right.
But he ain't making a statement like that. I mean, he's not an idiot. The guy's a businessman. He knows, like, what you can say and what you can't say.
Yeah, that seems out.
I mean, there was multiple other things. So it's like they pretty much just tried to nail Joe on, like, numbers.
Yeah.
They showed a couple other things. But.
Well, you know, and he also did the whole fine people hoax that even their beloved Snopes has debunked.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course, he doesn't bring that up, or our friend Daniel.
No. He doesn't hit the good ones. No.
Deep breath. He said some Democratic states allow people to execute babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state. He said everybody, even Democrats, wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3 of Americans, even more Democrats. He said every legal scholar wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record trade deficit with China. That also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his...
Well, he'll say there's zero evidence, right? Like, even though...
Yeah, the House committee's working on it right now, and they're seeing big checks coming from...
Yeah.
So I mean...
It hasn't been proven, but
they're
smoking guns.
His grandchildren got money from China.
Yeah.
So maybe Biden didn't, but everybody else in the Biden family
So he hasn't
did.
been indicted and actually charged with this yet, but that doesn't mean...
I love how, like, they'll be like, well, he didn't get the money, but his family did, and we know that's all legit.
Right. So they're saying Biden, right, like, didn't get the money.
Yeah.
But, okay, maybe somebody else did.
Joe Biden didn't.
Because of him.
Right, and they act like this is just normal behavior, and there's nothing could be nefarious here, dude. Like, why is his 12-year-old granddaughter getting money, a check from China, dude?
It's obvious our debunker friend Dale Daniels has an agenda.
Presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden...
They may have funded them, but not to the extent that they...
There was no attacks?
That they have been currently, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. They haven't had the money to actually put on the attacks that they've done against Israel with all the drones and all that. Yeah, that didn't happen, so...
Wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion.
I think when you take all of Europe,
okay,
you know what I mean, and then but still,
so like 30 countries.
But his point was that we are, you know, we have the
We're
U.S.
paying
has,
the most as one single country.
Yeah, by far, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's exactly what I got from his take, and you know, that's what he meant. So.
Yeah, these all seem to be like they call it
in Ukraine aid, it's closer to 110 billion. He said 18 or 19 million people across the border under Biden. That is millions too high. He said many of these migrants are from prisons or men.
Yeah, nobody knows, but I mean, we're definitely in the millions here.
Yeah, dude, nobody knows how many people have come across the border, dude. They can only guess, and they're not doing that well.
And this is the thing: many migrants are from prisons and mental institutions. I can't. Okay.
Institutions, his own campaign cannot corroborate this. He said Biden has only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the D.C. Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence.
But he was the one that actually
told the governor
to do it. That encouraged him to do it.
So it's like it's parsing words here. He's like, okay, you need to get the National Guard.
So the governor had to sign off on it. You know what I mean? But Trump was the one that pushed for it.
And he probably threatened him. He probably like, you're not getting any more funding unless you get the, like he's like, well, there's things I can do on my end.
Technically, it has to be the governor to deploy the National Guard. We know that, but it was Trump's influence.
And he's just cutting out the middleman in his speeches, but whatever. I mean, I guess it technically is a lie. Like I said, he's
any
not the
widespread
best
fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office, completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not
I mean, 71%, man. I mean,
he's off.
Pretty freaking big.
He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars, just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up. He said
well, some things have quadrupled, but not everything. You know what I mean? Right? Like,
here we go.
So, you know,
Biden made
up the idea he called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump chief of staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years, though he did at least once speak of, quote, predators without specifying it was about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness, Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie, I don't know how many times I've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law. Barack Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018.
Okay.
And finally, Trump said...
So he signed an expanded version, like he had a part of...
Yeah, so he did.
Expanding the program.
Yeah, maybe it was like completely different, or, you know...
I'm sure there was a lot more to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I know...
Biden got rid of that Veterans Program. Biden has not done that.
Slam dunk, buddy.
All right. Well, Daniel Dale, thank you very much. Going through every single one of those clearly.
Yeah,
long list.
Good job, bro.
He was just dying to write some shit down, and he missed some stuff on Biden for sure.
Yeah. Didn't bring up the Charlottesville thing.
How come they're willing to say that one person said Trump said the suckers and losers things? 19 people said he didn't say it. Several of them who hate him, like, and would more than happy to say, yeah, he said it, but yet they're going with the one. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if you have one whistleblower from the FBI saying that they were told not to work on the Joe Biden or the Hunter Biden stuff, then they're crazy outliers. The rest of them, it's so funny. They're not consistent on their things. I believe one person when it fits their agenda. And the Republicans do the same thing, dude. I need consistency, and I need people to be normal and be like, yo, if 19 people say one thing and one person says the other thing, then we're going to have to at least start with the 19 because that only makes sense, right?
I don't know. It's just you cannot have an unbiased fact checker that works for CNN. I'm sorry.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you just saw that. But all in all, though, the debate was, I mean, honestly, they did handle it pretty even-handed, but it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like,
they couldn't save him.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't. Tapper did try to it seemed. I mean, I didn't time it with a stopwatch or anything, but. It seemed like they would call it for Trump.
Like they gave him more time,
and they would be like, Biden, like, you still have 60 seconds, you still have 80 seconds, and it was almost hanging him with time. Like, he wanted less time because he could only make 1 point. He could only keep 1 point in his head at a time. And then he's just like, oh my God, I just spewed out my whole cerebellum there. You know what I mean? Like, I got nothing left.
Well, when they said that you have 80 seconds left, he thought they were talking about his life. He's like, well, what? 80 seconds? They said 2 weeks.
But, when you're tripping, time's kind of distorted.
Dude, he was definitely tripping. That dude was so high, dude.
So maybe 80 seconds to him was like, freaking hour. I don't know. But, and then after all of this madness and everybody this seemed to be turning on Biden, even his own most loyal pundits. we had Kamala come out, and she, of course, got her man Joe's back. And we all know why. You know what I mean?
No, but wait, listen to
she's
this.
number 2, so let's see what old Kamala had.
Kamala, I don't know, dude. She looks like she got some work done. I think she's been losing weight.
The lighting's really good. She's got that, what do they call that, chiaroscuro, kind of like shading, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
there's
the dark.
There's a filter for sure.
The lines going on there.
And what's up with Anderson Cooper, dude? He's a Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a strange one.
Highfalutin.
Yeah,
some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all the issues that matter to the American people. Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong.
But I'm sorry, on substance and policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear. Look at what...
I think I'm going to go with the Alzheimer's style.
I'm going Gimp style. I'm just going to wear a mask and not say anything and just grunt. And be like,
I'm going Forrest Gump style.
Dude, it worked for him, bro. Look what happened to his life.
Yeah, so this
happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over and over again, as he is wont to do. He would not disavow what happened on January 6th. He would not give a clear answer on whether he would stand by the election results this November. He went back and forth about where he stands on one of the most critical issues of freedom in America, which is the right of a woman to make decisions about their own body. He has been completely ambiguous and all over the place about where he stands on that issue, despite the fact that he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and that's exactly what they did. And just 3 years ago, we commemorated the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs, wherein women across our country have been denied emergency health care, have suffered miscarriages to the point
he actually kind of
But the president of the United States was not able
to... He brought up the late-term stuff
and,
the partial
Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Vice President Biden 4 years ago, and he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A president who incites an insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5-hour debate tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance in work that has been
we're actually talking about the debate tonight.
But is that the man who we saw on the stage tonight? Is that the person you see in meetings every day?
The person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about, whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals, so that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office, who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community, and in the Situation Room, ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice.
Is what he's been
most recently just during the G7 conference. So I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes. When I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
Yeah, she didn't say it was good performance. So you notice that? She's basically saying, like, what you saw was what I've been dealing with for the last 3 years, asshole. He's like, that guy walks around in his underwear. He craps his pants. He wipes it on the wall. It's ridiculous.
Why do you think I drink during the day, for Christ's sake?
Good God, dude.
All I can do is get high and laugh.
Did you
'cause I don't
see
know what
him
else
at
to
the
do.
Juneteenth thing? He looked like he was like, oh my God. Yeah. I don't feel like Kamala really had his back there. I think she kind of
I
sounded
think she
like
had
it.
her back.
Yeah. But according to what we read, she's not being considered because nobody likes her. They're all like,
she doesn't believe that. Like, you know what I mean? She's still pushing hard. Like,
everybody's
yeah.
self-confident.
I mean, especially when you're
level.
that close, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
You got to like go for it. You can almost taste it.
And
right? You know?
and it's the norm. It is the norm
Yeah.
for the vice president to
Sure.
look at like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's not.
That's why people take that job. I think, you know, they're like, okay,
It's always been like-
I would rather do this or that, but this might be my ticket. You know what I mean? And it's the big seat.
Yeah,
Big
yeah. Like,
chair.
when did that change? Like, I guess it really hasn't been. I think early
Dan
on.
Quayle.
Yeah, that might have been where it changed. You're right, Dan Quayle. But prior to that, like, it was normally the vice president at least ran. I don't know if they won a lot.
Yeah.
Now, Bush won, senior.
Yeah.
He was Reagan's
vice. Yeah.
And then,
Before that, I think LBJ was a vice president.
well, somebody died.
Well,
didn't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda
He killed his president, so it's kind of easy. If you
I
just-
forget who was Nixon's.
Wasn't it like Spiro Agnew or
Yeah,
something like
I
that,
think
dude?
you're right.
I'm not sure, dude.
But anyway, yeah, there's been quite a long lineage of vice presidents.
At least
so she
it's-
feels like it's like my time, and you know, of course, her, you know.
But everybody hates her, and I mean, rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, even though she checks all the boxes, like, ooh, first
Like
black
even-
woman, president, but
She's
like
not
even the
really
white are like, no,
No,
You
they're
know,
like, they're not
not
claiming
her.
it.
You know
Yeah,
what
they're
I mean?
trying to
Like,
trade her. They're like, can we trade her for somebody? They're doing that Dave Chappelle race trade. They're like, yeah, how about we get we want somebody else, dude. Where's Pete Buttigieg? I thought he was coming back.
Oh God,
He's gonna fix everything.
I haven't heard from him in a while. It seems like he's really.
He was actually testified before Congress the other day, and he got ripped up a little bit on like the EV thing. I guess nobody's buying EVs.
Yeah.
And that's their big push. And they're like, "What's going on, Pete?" And he's like, I'm nursing. I don't know.
I'm nursing.
I'm busy.
I'm busy nursing.
We have twins.
He's on maternity leave, Joe. I mean, he deserves this.
He does.
It's important for him, to bond these times.
Yeah.
This
Look, dude, that's the first thing you should do when you get an important job with the government is you should try to start a family the same week.
Yeah.
I find that to be, just get it all over at once. Don't try to be like, well, maybe I'll wait 4 years till I'm done with this and then start a family. I'm going to do it all at once, and I'm going to ride a bike too.
I think he was just like, man, I got to check out. I need an excuse.
I think so too. He was like, dude,
things are not going well with this EV situation.
But he got that whole gig because he dropped out. If you remember, they all dropped out after South Carolina, and Biden then became the nominee. But all of them got gigs. They were like, dude, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know about transportation. They're like, yep. He's like, well, I have to do
I think he thought that was going to be an easy gig, and there was just one thing after another that came up. That
but he doesn't take any slack. He doesn't do anything for
there
it.
was the thing with the whole FAA and the planes.
There was Palestine, East Palestine. There's been a ton of train wrecks and
train wreck. I mean, just infrastructure fails, and we just passed this infrastructure act supposedly that we're going to try to solve these things, but I don't really know what they're fixing. I don't know. They're going to build a bunch of charging stations for all these EVs.
There's
but
$7
supposedly
billion,
there's hardly
and there's
any
7
of them that have really been built.
Yeah, they cost $1 billion each, Bill.
Yeah. Well,
now Elon got them put in every gas station for next to nothing, but the federal government got 7 done. They're doing good, bro. If you drive,
it's like I said, they will just let the government fix it, Joe.
Dude,
Look at their
that's
track
how
record.
I feel about all of it.
There was a time when older people remember stuff like the Hoover Dam or something. You know what I mean? That the government got together and built that.
Those were done to get rid of the recession, right? Or the depression.
Yeah.
A lot of those things were started to get rid of the depression because they were trying to put people back to work. Great time, cheap labor.
Yeah.
If you're a government, hire people.
No, they actually did get big things done, and that was when government taking on a big project when maybe it wasn't feasible for private industry to do that. The profitability wasn't there
right
off the bat, or they didn't have the surplus money to do that. But it seemed like that was really well. Now I don't know where along the line. I mean, there was a lot of years between the 30s and now.
Well, the problem is we're still using that infrastructure. We haven't done anything
seriously.
since.
Our country looks freaking junky compared to Europe now and stuff. I mean, you see these pictures of
it's just new communities
and stuff.
fine.
It looks but I mean, our biggest and brightest city, New York City, our subway's just disgusting. All of these big cities are people are just fleeing them now because they're just been turned San Francisco is a beautiful place, man. Like it is just.
It has all the natural aspects. It's got that the bay.
Yeah,
you know
the
what
bay
I mean? It's
and
beautiful.
the park, and just where the temperate, the climate zone, the way the trees. And shit.
That's why people want to live there. But obviously, I've never been really able to figure out if they're trying to for a while. I was like, I think the Democrats are trying to get people to move out of California so they can either buy up all the property,
Right, they want it for themselves,
or they can, I don't know. It's like if they make it so bad, but at the same time they make it so easy for like homeless people to live there. The best place to live if you're a homeless person. That's what people say, as Trump would say. I don't know. I've never said that. But it seems to be the best. Like you get the most money living in like either Seattle or San Fran or maybe Portland. Those are like the three top.
Oh man, there's something going on, but I think we covered this debate pretty well.
I think
so.
What I mean, that was interesting. Have you changed who you're going to vote for, Bill?
I mean, I don't know. Let's see who the Democrats put up. I mean, I love a man with good hair.
Yeah, so really,
I'm a big
Newsom,
big moose guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, Newsom, French Laundry's pretty awesome too. He's got good taste.
I think what they should do if they really want to win this is they either get Newsom or Whitmer to dress up like the other.
Oh.
So they become like a trans Whitner.
That's hot.
Or a trans Newsom.
Yeah.
The new Newsom.
The Newsom.
Newsom up.
Yeah, I don't know if that name might be problematic, the little noose thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but they really should go trans, I think. I think they should get a trans person, and they should put them in one of the best things, I know we're getting ready to do this. Never mind. We'll save this for another because that's too long a discussion.
Might be the way to go, but, as we roll in.
Gretchen Newsom. All right, well, that's another episode of The Experts.
Close it out.
I'd like to say if you have questions,
it's been fun.
That's what we're here for. We're the experts. You see us quoted all the time in newspapers. A lot of times we didn't say what they said we said, but that's cool. Good time, Bill.
Yeah,
see you next week.
I mean, wow, man. I mean, what a debate. It's something you'll hopefully never see again in your lifetime. It's like Haley's Comet, it probably comes around, once in a lifetime. And we just witnessed it, folks. We just witnessed the just humiliation of a poor, beaten down man with dementia.
We just watched the reason for the 25th Amendment.
Yeah,
that was it.
I mean, we just watched. What's scary is what all the rest of the world leaders watched as well.
Yeah, if you're attacking, you're doing it now, right? You're like, hey, let's get them on their down.
Terrifying thought, but it's one that needs to be addressed for sure. So, I don't know. We still got this. We still got a long way to go to November. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be.
We're going to be there all along the way, bringing you our expert commentary.
Absolutely.
We're going to try to laugh through it because what else can you do?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
it's it.
Our world has become so freaking absurd.
Plus, my doctor told me to watch my blood pressure,
True,
so we're going to
true.
be
He
loud.
said, I used to get really mad. I already turned kind of red a lot. Anyway.
I got a little upset today.
But the more I laugh,
you were sick too.
Yeah, that cold.
Yeah.
It's crazy what a cold will do to you.
It's crazy. You forgot everything.
You'll forget your name. You'll forget. You'll shit your pants.
Yeah, it happens.
It's just terrible things can happen when you have a cold.
It does.
But you might bounce back the very next day. All it takes is a little adrenochrome in the coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And you'll bounce right back. So.
And a good spanking, Bill.
So it's been real. It's been fun. Everybody like, subscribe, and we'll see you back next week. We're the experts.
All right. See you guys.
And that's our opinion. Take it or leave it.